Starting a business is something that many people embark upon with a lot of fear and trepidation. They think about it as something that's big and complex and scary. They think of it as something litigious and serious, and they think it's something that is for other people to do. I meet people all the time who are like that, who, look at incorporation, look at starting a business, and they feel as though this huge weight is on their shoulders, that it's a huge amount of stress. It couldn't be further from the truth. Starting a business is not complicated, okay? Running a business, building a business, that's the complex part, okay? That's the part where people have a tough time. But incorporating is easy, okay? Generally speaking, it's a pretty straightforward process, and I'm going to go through this. Do not, mistake this for legal advice. Don't mistake what I'm saying to you for authoritative advice like from an attorney. Always consult with the proper authorities. Always go out there and do your homework. Check out the SBA.gov website. There's excellent resources all over the internet for it. But having said all that, it's pretty straightforward. You have your entity type, okay? And there's a bunch of different entity types when it comes to a type of business. You have LLCs, limited liability companies. You have S Class and C Corps. Those are INCs. They put INC at the end of their name. INCs differ from LLCs in a couple very important ways. The number one way that they differ that's relevant to you and relevant to me is that when you set up an LLC, it's taxed basically one time, okay? The company is taxed and I'm taxed, right? It passes through. Like if I own an LLC and I derive income from the LLC, there's my tax, right? It just goes right through and it gets taxed. If I have a C Corp, it's taxed twice. It's taxed once as corporate income, and then it's taxed again as my personal income, which makes S classes and C corps, generally speaking, a poor choice for individuals that are, just starting their own small business. Now, why do they exist? Why do people want to have them if they're so, awful? Well, they provide enormous legal protection, a whole other level of legal protection than LLCs do. Okay, so like, for example, and this is just my broad understanding of it. If you have a C corporation and you operate in a whole bunch of different jurisdictions, let's say that I have a company and it operates in Canada, Ireland, the United States, in 10 different states, and it has all these different legal jurisdictions to operate under. A C corporation has major benefits when it comes to the structure of, legal protections, basically. Okay. It's subject to a different sort of, legal level of protection in terms of differentiation between myself and the entity. The entity is like a person. Okay, you've heard that as a joke. Okay, it's a thing unto itself. All right, separate from myself. Versus an LLC is treated basically as me personally in business in all these locations. So any problems the company encounters, legally speaking, can fall directly back on me versus on the company, which is preferential. That's my understanding of it. Of course, lawyers will explain this in extreme detail, and you should go out there and find them and research this yourself. There are other types of entity. There's like LTDs in the United Kingdom and elsewhere in Commonwealth countries. LTDs are not really relevant to the United States and Canada, although, they may have them in Canada. I've never seen them, but they may be up here in North America. I don't know. I've never seen them as an entity type offered by incorporation companies, except overseas. And apparently they're very similar to LLCs. There are also DBAs, that's doing business as. That's kind of like, if I were a person and I wanted to just do something myself, like if I was in business for myself and, I was doing something like, building statues or something, and I was the solo employee all by myself and I just did this work. DBA would be a very low-cost option that offers very little in the way of protection, but is just very cheap. As far as I understand, I've never done one. I don't have much experience with it, but generally speaking, the entity type, choosing an entity type is very straightforward. Most people, when it comes to building an agency in our industries, are going to choose an LLC. Some may choose a C Corp, or an S class, right, which differs slightly from a C Corp and its requirements and its benefits. And there's some differences there you should look up. After you get past getting your entity type, which you go to a company and you pay them a certain amount of money and, they'll incorporate you and your little corporate kit will show up and you'll have your incorporation. and they'll do services. They have services like register agent charges and stuff where they'll do, the filings for you on a routine basis. LegalZoom is an option for that, although there's a lot of different attorneys that will handle that. But moving on from your entity, you have your merchant bank account, right? So you have your entity, then you have its bank account, right? Or your business's bank account. Merchant banking is very straightforward. You just go to a bank, most normal banks that are, commercial banks that are right uptown from you, get in your car and drive and check them out, offer merchant banking where you open a bank account in your business's name. The bank account in your business's name is where money will go when you invoice somebody, right? The money doesn't go in your personal bank account. It goes into the business's bank account when you bill somebody. Also, and connected to this is your payment processor. If you are billing people with credit cards, right? If you want to bill credit cards, you have to have a payment processor. That's the entity, okay? It's usually a business that allows you to bill credit cards. The money from the credit card goes into your merchant bank account, all right? So that's how that works. You have your processor, and your processor may be connected to your website in the case of e-commerce. It may be connected to a POS or point of sale system, those little credit card swipers, okay? And also your processor may be connected to alternate payment options nowadays. Some of them accept, different types of payments, different currencies and so on. Although that's pretty, that's not something you generally have to worry about. So you have your payment processor, you have your merchant bank account, and you have your entity type, okay? 1, 2, 3. That is really all you have to be concerned with. Once you have all three of those set up, you have, an entity, so that's your business. You have a bank account for it, so it's a place that money can be sent. You have a processor, which is a way to bill people and put money into that account. That's pretty much it. All the rest of the considerations when it comes to, starting a business really revolve around making sure that you're in compliance with the law, that you're not, doing anything you shouldn't be doing, that, you're staying on the right side of the tax man, and you're, doing the right and proper things. That's just a matter of basically following a combination of common sense and regulatory guidelines and whatnot that are all freely available and out there. It's not very complicated to stay in compliance with the law when it comes to a business. When you're talking about, a small business like the kind you're going to be running. Most people who run agencies, it's, they have an accountant, they go to them once a year, they have, their merchant bank account. The money goes into that single account, or maybe they have a couple of them. And they just bring the records, and it's, it's very straightforward. It's not something that has to be very complex. That's one reason that a lot of people opt for LLCs. If you ask them, it's because the tax filings and structure is just very easy, because C Corps, again, they're taxed quarterly, and they have quarterly filing deadlines and stuff, versus LLCs, which is, it's very straightforward. You just, it's once a year. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this little brief chat on incorporations and business types and getting yourself in business. Don't stress out about it. Don't worry. It should not be a barrier to you starting a business. That's the smallest hurdle that you're going to have to hop over starting a business. Don't make it into something bigger than it has to be. Don't be afraid. If people have put crazy ideas in your head, get the tinfoil hats out of the way. It's not that big of a deal. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be doing some more videos just like this real soon. So subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.